the mega dragons and the divine counterpart template. Two big energies that have popped into at least my awareness in the past year, and two energies that are about to be very, very relevant in April 2026 and moving forward as we pave the way for this new earth on our ascension path. Now, of course, this is relevant regardless of when you're watching this, but April 2026 is when we really see the foundations of this new earth being put into place. So how do the mega dragons and the divine counterparts play with each other's energies? How do they play off of each other? How are they related? We're going to dive into all of that and more in today's video. But first, for those of you who may not know me, I'm Hannah, and I empower you to empower yourself. And today it's my intention to do that by familiarizing you with these energies, these concepts, so that you can step more consciously as a creator being into your own experience. And if you wish, you can work with the mega dragons consciously. You can work with the divine counterpart energy consciously, and you can create a really awesome life for yourself. Because really, that is your task, friend. That is your mission, if you didn't know. Spoiler alert. As a starseed, as an empath, as a lightworker, as a dragon soul, whatever title you prefer, really it's just semantics, it's just words. If you're watching this video, your mission, your purpose is just to have fun and have the most fulfilling, wonderful life possible. And know that that is your duty, really, in a way, to just have fun and to hold your vibration high. This is how we create this new earth. This is how we transcend all of the darkness that we're seeing in the world right now, all of the darkness that we are experiencing, have experienced personally in our own lives. We've seen with our loved ones, our deceased loved ones, our ancestors, our friends. You know, we've seen this. We're done with it, right? We're done. And you get to create a completely new story for yourself and for the collective at large. And it starts with you living the best life possible. How awesome is that? So I recently did a video on this divine counterpart template and what it means, the implications of that. If you're curious, you can check it out up here. And on that video, after posting that video, I got a lot of feedback, a lot of questions on how do divine counterparts relate to the mega dragons? How do the mega dragons activate the divine counterparts? Because it seems like others have sensed that there's a correlation there, and certainly I have sensed the same. And so I'm going to talk about that now. But no, if you're new to the concepts of divine counterparts and mega dragons, I will explain briefly what each are here. And if you're curious for more, I have videos on each. I will also link the mega dragon video, maybe up here. And you can find both links in the description as well. So essentially, what are the divine counterparts? What is the divine counterpart template? If you are familiar with twin flames, in the twin flame template, basically in its essence, the divine counterpart template is the next vibrational rung up the ladder. So it has to do with romantic relationships coming into co-creation, collaboration, partnership with another human being. And unlike the twin flame templates, there is no purging needed with the divine counterpart. Basically, at that phase, when someone becomes an available divine counterpart, shall we say, once they've activated their own divine counterpart energy, they've reached a point where they've found that wholeness within themselves. They've basically balanced their feminine and masculine polarities, at least to a degree, where they're no longer seeking externally outside of themselves, and they can regulate themselves and they can give from this place of wholeness, this space of wholeness. Once they've reached that point, once you've reached that point, you become the divine counterparts, okay? And then you magnetize your counterpart into your life. And unlike the twin flames, there doesn't have to be like this separation, this purging, all this pain and heartache. So it's the next rung up, very high vibrational frequency. Now, the mega dragons, what are the mega dragons? So basically, as the name implies, they're really big dragons. What are dragons? Maybe you aren't even familiar with real life dragons. They're just an energy. I call them higher frequency beings. Now, specifically, a lot of the time, the dragons I'm talking about on this channel are elemental dragons. Most of the dragons that you'll be connecting with at these times, during these times, are elemental dragons. Why? Because elemental dragons typically have a lower frequency than other types of dragons because they're associated with Mother Earth and with humanity's ascension process. And note that when I say they have a lower frequency, that doesn't mean they have a low frequency. Their frequency is still much, much higher than ours, shall we say, and most other beings that we're interacting with on this physical plane in any case. But they have a lower frequency than other dragons, let's say celestial dragons, galactic dragons, dragons that come from different planets, because they're very much intertwined with Mother Earth and her frequencies, her energies. Now, this applies for all elemental dragons. They are all part of this. They're all a part of Mother Earth and her body. And the mega dragons, you could think of them as like, if we break it down to energy, they're like congealed dragon energies, so much that they become like one gigantic entity, one gigantic energy together, synergized. And so these mega dragons, because they're interlinked with the elemental kingdoms, they're interlinked with Mother Earth's energies, they're kind of like foundational building blocks for the energetic grid of this planet. And by the way, that is why, if you've heard of the term ley lines, these are the energy grids that go around our planet. They're also called dragon lines. I wonder why, yeah? It's because literally dragons, just in general, even if you're not talking about the mega dragons, this is kind of their purpose as elemental dragons. This is what they do, is they really stabilize and they ground Earth's energetic grid. And when I've first started connecting with these different elemental dragons, like, you literally find them inside of the different elements. Like, I literally connected with a dragon that was in the ocean in a specific tide pool, and it was meant to guard that tide pool, and that was its domain that it was meant to stabilize and take care of. And basically that dragon was like then the overseer of that domain. Everything that lived within that domain on any vibrational frequency, whether they were like fish in that tide pool, people, humans that walked into that tide pool, the water itself in that tide pool, the bacteria in that tide pool, the shells, all of it was in that dragon's domain. And then the same happened. I immediately after I went to this tide pool, when I first like messed around with this energy, I went to a mountain, and guess what? I saw that there was a dragon in the mountain. Like, literally it was merged. It was literally living inside the mountain. And I know that's hard for us to understand up here when we're still living in the third dimension where things are physical and tangible. But when you get to the higher dimensions, which all dragons really live in, they live in the fourth dimension and above. They can literally be inside of physical things and have a perfectly wonderful home there, yeah? So, yeah, this dragon was then like merged with this mountain that I was on, a very specific, like, little mountain. It wasn't like a known mountain. It didn't even have a name or anything. It was just like this little mountain, but that was that dragon's domain. And he was responsible for all the beings that, you know, went into that physical territory, crossed that territory. So this is how dragons operate. They each are like assigned to specific area of the grid, no matter how small or big that is. And then they oversee that territory, and they kind of take care of all the beings within that domain. and they hold the energetic frequency. They hold the structure for that territory. And they kind of, I'm seeing, they literally like funnel in high frequency energy from source, from the higher dimensions down into the physical plane until it becomes literally physical, tangible. It's like a funnel. Like they literally create a funnel with their energy where they get that high vibrational energy, they bring it down until it becomes physical, tangible. Very cool stuff. So this is just in general what the dragons are doing. Now the mega dragons, think of like tide pool dragon and mountain dragon, but like mega, right? It's like, so these mega dragons, like each one is basically like in charge of a specific part of Mother Earth, like a big chunk of her. And so their domain is basically like the size of a continent, perhaps, maybe even bigger than that. And know that I'm not saying that each mega dragon is associated with a different continent. They're not. They don't operate in that way. They operate based on the energetic grid, not necessarily on how humans have decided to separate things. But basically it's like this. They oversee a specific part of Mother Earth and the planets. And so even they, like within their domain, everything within their domain, including other dragons overseeing smaller domains, like is under their guidance, and they're overseeing. That's the energy, that's the word, overseeing. That's the energy they want to convey, is that they oversee and they stabilize. They're frequency stabilizers. So how do these energies play off of each other? That's the question, right? That's the question, because they're definitely interlinked. So as I'm interpreting it now, as I'm understanding it, the mega dragons are quite literally associated with Mother Earth, also known as Pachamama, also known as Gaia, also known as, in her ascended form, Eden. Okay, but basically the planet, however you want to call her, again, semantics with the name, it doesn't matter. However you want to call her, it's the planet that we are literally on. She is a living being too, and she is ascending just like we all are. And so the mega dragons are like a part of her body helping her. They're like overseeing. So what they want me to say is an analogy now. It's almost like your body also kind of, your body has a consciousness. And so like your heart is a big part of your body, right? It controls a lot. Your brain, okay? Your feet, your knees, your legs, your arms, your teeth, they're all different parts of your body. They all have their own consciousness, and that consciousness is working together. And this is kind of what the mega dragons are doing for Mother Earth. So they are associated like with Mother Earth and her frequency and like the physicality of this planet. And so they are foundational. They are helping like her ascension and all the beings that live on her, us included, yeah? So divine counterparts now. In order to get into that, let's break it down. So when you are, let's say, we'll go with the term light worker, you're a light worker, a light leader. Just as an individual person, and maybe you've experienced this, maybe you're already very well aware of this, when you raise your frequency, you do your fucking shadow work, as I say, you heal, you know, you raise your frequency and you're choosing love and you're in the frequency of love. You start to activate and to light up the grid, the energetic grid, Mother Earth. And you start to help the collective of humanity and the rest of the beings, because again, we're all ascending. You help the collective ascend just by existing, okay? You become kind of like a mega dragon in a sense, just by yourself. Now, what happens when you get into a partnership with another person? You amplify that energy together. It's basically like not even just doubled, actually. It's like this explosion that happens when you are collaborating with another person. Now, that's just when you're collaborating with another like-souled individual. That's not even to say you're collaborating with the twin flame, let alone the divine counterpart. So when you're with your twin flame and you're collaborating with your twin flame, it's like even more amplified than if you were just collaborating with a soulmate, whether, you know, romantic or platonic. the twin flame amplifies it to a greater degree. And the twin flame, up until about last year, was basically like the highest form of collaboration that we could have. And the Earth's grid could barely even tolerate that, which is why so many twins are in separation. But then, friends, the divine counterpart template was unlocked. Congratulations, go us. We did so much fucking shadow work as a collective. We unlocked a whole new relationship template. This is the divine counterpart. So it's the next level up. So imagine, especially for those of you that maybe you have met your twin flame and you felt the energy that I'm talking about here of being activated by your twin and feeling this amplification of energy, the divine counterpart is like 100 times that even. It's like, we can't even fathom like how much of an amplification that energy is. So it's like this, it becomes basically like the mega dragon of relationships. So you could say that divine counterparts are the mega dragon of relationships. And that is the divine counterpart frequency. So when people start coming into these divine counterpart unions, which by the way, like were not even possible until like last year, it's going to start creating this like stabilization for the grid. It's going to increase the level of light that the planet at large can receive, including like the collective energetically can receive. It's going to increase the amount that we're all able to receive. So it's like we're increasing the tank size. They want me to use an analogy here. So I had a pet turtle growing up. And if anyone knows, oftentimes with turtles or just reptiles in general, the cool thing about them is that depending on how big or small their tank is, their size, like they'll grow in accordance with that. So if they're in a pretty small tank, it's not like they're going to grow into like a giant ass turtle and not be able to fit into the tank anymore. They're going to adapt to the tank. So they'll stay a tiny ass little turtle if you've got them in a small tank. If you increase the size of the tank, they're going to grow in accordance with that. And so they keep growing in accordance with the tank. So this is basically what's happening right now with the mega dragons are saying like they're kind of in charge of the tank. They're holding the space. They're creating the container. It's a very strong divine masculine energy overall that the mega dragons are handling for all of us and for Mother Earth. It's like they're creating this tank. And so when each one wakes up, it's like the tank's getting bigger and bigger and we can fill it with more and more light. And so us, just as individuals, as humans, we're like the turtles within the tank. It's an ironic analogy given the reptilian nature of turtles, right? And the mega dragons being reptilian, you could say. So we are the turtles in the analogy. And so we'll keep growing and expanding. So all of that said, as more and more mega dragons start to wake up, they increase the tank size more and more. They increase the amount of light that the grid, that is Mother Earth, can hold. And so as more and more mega dragons wake up, more and more divine counterparts wake up. More and more divine counterparts come into union, yeah? So as it stands right now, there's like a very limited amount of people that can be in a union like this, a divine counterpart union. I don't even know if anyone truly is in a real divine counterpart union at this point. And to clarify, like, it doesn't mean that the person that you're with can't turn into that. It just means it's not fully expressed. It's not like fully embodied just yet into what it's about to be when the grid is able to carry more light. And so basically, as it stands right now, there really isn't space in the grid for the divine counterparts to union. It would, like, literally the analogy they're showing me for this is like a light bulb. And in this case, it's like we are the light bulbs, like our each individual bodies or our minds, our consciousness is like the light bulb. And then the mega dragons, in this case, you could say is like the energy, the electricity flowing through the light bulb. If the light bulb has too much energy going through it, it's going to pop, right? It's going to explode. That's not going to fly. So that's not going to happen, by the way. This is why the mega dragons are waking up like very intentionally and slowly, and they're kind of parceling it out because they're not going to overwhelm us with energy. And this goes for also receiving light codes and activations from higher frequency beings, like from our star family, from other types of dragons, you know, from any sort of support that is coming to us, because there's a lot of it. Okay, it's not just the mega dragons by any means. But yeah, essentially, we cannot handle that light yet collectively. So when more mega dragons wake up, we'll be able to handle that. It's like we can handle more energy. The turtle tank gets bigger, and we can grow into bigger and bigger turtles. And so the mega dragons, they say, while they're in charge of like the energetic grid, like the body of Mother Earth, essentially, we are in a way like the divine counterparts in us, just as humans, as the human collective consciousness. We're like the heart and the mind of Mother Earth, like within that body. So it's like basically like the mega dragons are in charge of the body, but we're in charge of like the heart and the mind here. So it's like the body, of course, has to be a safe vessel before a soul can even incarnate in that body. Yeah. It's got to be able to handle the soul coming into the body so that the soul can work with the body and the two can co-create together. That's kind of what's happening here. So I'm curious if you want to let me know, does that make sense? Do you have any more questions? Wrapping this up, I will say, so I suspect that whenever the next mega dragon wakes up and more light comes to the grid, that's when the divine counterpart templates are able to come online. And likely you'll see people meeting their divine counterpart for the first time. You'll see other relationships, soulmate relationships, twin flame relationships, maybe even karmic relationships, who knows, evolving into divine counterpart levels of relationship. Yeah, really like just leaving behind, shedding all of the pain and the trauma and the heartbreak, the separation energy, the, you know, insecure attachment styles. All of that's going to be shed, and you step fully into this divine counterpart, high frequency energy. So yeah, that's what we've got for you. And like I said, if you have any questions on this, feel free to ask. Curious, always happy to have a dialogue about it. And know that if you're watching this like right as I post it, like I'm posting this basically like right on the March equinox in 2026, and whoo, that's a big activator. That's a big activator. I don't think it's a coincidence. I felt inspired to do this video like right at this time. This is a portal. This is a threshold moment. It's huge. It's life-changing. So know that things are about to get really, really exciting. If you're not feeling that, remember, it's always darkest before the dawn. Yeah, it's always darkest before the dawn. And you know this now. You know this now. You know, you've probably experienced it so many times before, like right before some big cool breakthrough, something cool happens. There's a lot of uncertainty, fear, doubts, loss of relationships and jobs and homes and all the fun stuff, right? And questioning yourself, feeling lonely, isolated, lost. You've been through it a million times at this point, right? You're a pro, you're a vet, and you're ready to move on to lighter and brighter territory. So this is coming very, very soon. And yeah, the energy of the mega dragons and the divine counterparts and so many more are just going to become more and more relevant over the coming years as we ascend, as we're able to carry more and more light, as we grow as turtles, as proverbial turtles, as our tank gets bigger and bigger. Things like more and more magic, more and more miracles are going to be possible. They're going to be changeable. It's very exciting. And so if you're curious to learn more about these topics, like I said, I will have links to my Mega Dragon and Divine Counterparts videos in the description. And then also, I would invite you to join us in my private community in Mystery School, the House of the Spirit Dragon, where we have already dived deep into the Divine Counterpart template. Already got a couple of sessions on that, and probably will do more this year. We usually meet twice every month live, and it's a really cool, supportive space, a great space if you want to activate your psychic abilities, connect with other people, like-minded, like-souled people who are on this journey, so you're not feeling crazy, right? People who get it, people who like dragons, people who are on this divine counterpart journey, and of course, there in the house, we have so much content on dragons, and yeah, all the different elemental dragons. You can work with them, you can meet like a personal guide right there in the house. There's just such an abundance of resources there. I cannot stress that enough. And so if my frequency feels supportive to you, if it feels like home and you're picking this up, you want to amplify that, then love to co-create with you there. And know that we're going to be working on this exact stuff live in April 2026. We're working with the silver lunar dragons, which hold the divine feminine polarity. We already worked with the solar golden dragons, who are the divine masculine polarity, and now we're finishing the job. We're bringing that polarity home, that synergy home with these silver lunar dragons. It's going to be a great time. I am excited. I don't know if y'all are excited. I'm excited for April 2026. It really just feels like fucking mental. Right? Can you guys feel that? Are you excited for April 2026? So know that wherever you are on your journey, me and the dragons, the mega dragons, your divine counterpart, the whole collective of divine counterparts, twin flames, light workers, dragon souls, starseeds, we are with you. We are supporting you. We are sending you so much love on your journey. Keep on keeping, friend. Know that you are not alone. This is your time. Stay powerful.